I cannot promise you that it doesn't sound awful as well when I'm going to chant, so you can mute me as well if you want. But we always do that because it gives a nice introduction, actually puts us a little bit into the mood for the meditation. Some wholesome words. Alright. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, free from duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be happy. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be happy. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. So.
Okay. Thank you. Over to you, Venerable.
Okay. Can I see the people screen, please? I have a few big Rachel now on the screen, and only a few people are small on the top. Can I change that? No, I don't hear you at all.
Venerable, if you can go to your top right-hand corner.
Ah, my view. I have to change my view. Okay.
Yes, it's your view.
Gallery view. Ah, here we go.
Yes.
Excellent. Now I see you. All your keen faces. All right. See what you're up to there in your rooms.
Yes. Good. Over to you.
All right. So I hope you're in a good mind frame for the meditation today. Just had a letter today addressed to Ajahn Brahm. He passed it around from a person. I don't know if she lives in India or if her relatives just live in India. And I think most of her relatives got infected with COVID and some are struggling for their lives. And she said something like Ajahn Brahm's talks are what keeps her from keeps her going, basically, keeps her from not falling apart. So I guess there is a lot of suffering out there that is sometimes I'm a little bit shielded from that in the monastery. Personally, I do not suffer very much. So it's good to be reminded that it's helpful for people to hear some encouraging words out there in the world from the monks, but also some things that the monks can't protect you from, and that is the suffering that life holds in store for us, and relatives being sick, relatives passing away. And one thing we have to work with in our lifetime to being able to love it, but on the other hand be able to let go again as well. This unavoidable outcome that is there for each and every one of us, that we just have to die, have to pass away. And how much effort goes into that, preventing that from happening. So be an island for yourself, the Buddha said. Have a strong mind, develop a mind that is prepared, and that is what the Corona crisis is doing for us now. It's reminding us that our Western standard that pretends to be so evolved and so almost in charge of nature, so many things we can cure, so many things we seem to be able to control. This last few things are still out of our control. Old age, sickness and death is absolutely still there for us. But the way we experience it and the way we experience the unavoidable suffering that comes with it depends on the practice we did before. And so meditation is obviously one important tool for you in your box to develop that calmness in the mind, that centeredness, that place where the thoughts cannot infringe and make us crazy. This place where we can sit back and breathe. And to develop that is, I think, one of the major gifts for people these days in the world, because with all the refuges they have in distractions, it's a very fleeting refuge when suffering really knocks on the door. So it's very important to have that space in your mind where you found happiness. Happiness that is not dependent on what is happening out there in the world. That's the happiness that you have created inside your own mind. And the stronger that is, obviously, the more you're able to help your friends, help yourself. And so it's not a selfish goal. It's a very worthwhile goal for everybody. The more collected, the more healthy our own mind is, the better we can deal with the circumstances for ourselves, but also with the people who need our help. It doesn't help anybody if we just break down crying as well, or if we fall into despair or whatever. It's important to have that strength of mind, develop that strength of mind, and that's what we're training to do tonight, a little bit again, little by little, trying to make that progress of slowing the mind down. But it should not just be an effort to reach some goal of a still mind again. The process should be enjoyable for you. The process should be associated with something beautiful already. If the mind becomes aware that there is real beauty in this stilling down, in this calming down of the thought processes, or maybe even just having the thought processes in a realm where it's wholesome, where we see when thoughts infringe that are just not leading to anything good, not any wholesome mind states for ourselves and others. That is also a very wholesome space already that we can make more and more beautiful after a while. And if it becomes still, it becomes stiller and stiller, please try to see the beauty, just not just the bodily feelings that come up that might be a little bit unpleasant, or the sensations when they become a little bit stronger, which can be weird, also sometimes in the beginning a little bit unpleasant. If we try to watch just the beauty of having that space becoming a little bit clearer in the mind, a little bit where this, I mean, the suffering, most of our suffering, when it's not direct, it's thoughts. If it's not painful feelings that we have directly in the body, most of the people, when they freak out, it's the worry about something that's going to happen in the future. So if we can find a space where these worries do not intrude for a while, this creating that space in the mind where it's just safe because we're in the moment, and we see that these thoughts are always just an illusion. They're always just a fantasy. What is going to happen in a few seconds, we don't know really. We have this illusion that we know this is going to happen actually, and tomorrow is going to rain, and we have all these forecasts and these predictions, and we think we know already what is going on, and so we don't see the confinement that brings what we try to make us safer in our mind. These thoughts, they are all created to make us feel safe, make the world be more predictable. But on the other hand, it really defines as well what we see in the world around us and the way we experience the world. So seeing a little bit of things falling away when we start the meditation, when maybe we manage to slow down the mind a little bit, bring it to the present, more to the present moment, and you will recognize that thoughts are always about the past or the future. They're always either lagging behind or trying to be in front of what is happening. So we hardly ever connected really with what is going on. And it's such a relief to realize that there exists a world completely apart from that, completely from that fantasy that we spin in our heads the whole time. And if we see the beauty in that, then we want to continue with the meditation and make that stronger, and that can become our refuge. And we see thoughts as what thoughts are, for what they are, and that's most of the time it's a fantasy, it's a prediction, and sometimes it's a correct prediction, and sometimes it can be completely wrong. But the more we predict, the more we guide our perception in that direction as well. That's one thing we can become aware of. And that is a very important point, because we're not trying to change the world. We're not trying to eradicate old age, sickness and death on the planet. We're not trying to save the animals and save the children and save this and save that. We're trying to bring the mind to a state where it can realize what is suffering and what is a way out of suffering. And in this world of our senses, with our friends, with our beloved ones, with everything around, it's that world that has a beginning and an end, and it has two sides. Has the pleasantness and the unpleasantness with it. So we try to find something in that stillness and space of our minds, where we're just in the moment, without these predictions. And if that can, if you can feel the power of that a little bit, if your mindfulness goes in that direction to the beauty and this feeling of independence and strength that it holds, and the feeling of a safe haven in that direction, then the mind is going to become still all by itself, because the mind is going to go where it's interesting and where it's pleasant. That's the nature of the mind. It always wants to go there. It wants to avoid what is unpleasant, and it wants to go where it's pleasant. And that is so important to remember, that in your meditation that you can bring some beauty from the very beginning into your meditation. And even if it's not super beautiful, there are aspects of it that might just escape the awareness in that moment. Because it's strange and unfamiliar, or something you know already, and a bodily pain becoming more prominent when you start to meditate, or a sensation you don't like from the outside becoming more prominent. But watch the slowing down, if you manage the slowing down of the thought process, the beauty of that process, of not having to judge, not having to control, not having to predict. It's like this moments maybe sometimes you have before you fall asleep, when the work's day is done, and maybe that short moment where it's just like, I did all I had to do, and now I can go to sleep, or now I can rest, or now I'm on holiday, or whatever it is for you. So let's try that tonight. Please see the burden of this constant stream of thought, all these worries and prediction, and see the beauty of the process slowing down in your meditation. If you can put your attention on that. And we have to go through the body first, because otherwise we're just gonna stay connected with this thinking mind. So we're relaxing the body. So we can maybe start the meditation. Is there any question? Anybody new there that is very unclear about what we're gonna do? No? Good. So we're gonna meditate for half an hour, like always. I think I have to open my eyes a few times. I don't get the time quite right. I don't have an alarm clock here to tell me when to stop. So please make yourself as comfortable as you can. And I think most of you have meditated before, so you know what's important, that you have a position where the breath can go easily in and out, where you don't have to struggle with that. And I find it helpful to take a few deep breaths and pump yourself up, and then you let the breath out, and you let your shoulders relax and your neck relax, and put your body in the right position, where whatever way you're sitting, that you know the body is as comfortable as it gets for this half an hour. Now we can just allow ourselves for this half hour, nothing that's going to happen in the future is of any importance. Nothing that happened before this very moment right now is of any importance. during that time of our meditation is so important that we have to speculate or to interpret, to figure anything out what is going on. And just thoughts come in and we just let them get out again, just as they do, as is in nature. You don't have to grasp any of these thoughts coming in or going out. Just stay in the mind but doesn't have to think, doesn't have to figure out. It's important to make yourself as comfortable as you can in your body, because the attention is going to shift towards the body now. Once we stop thinking so much, the attention goes inwards, goes with the sensations, sounds and bodily feelings. I hope you're relatively free of pain. And if there is pain somewhere, you can shift your attention a little bit away and go to a relaxing breath. And instead of getting irritated with the pain, we know this is what the body does. It's always a little bit uncomfortable. But we're just going to send a little bit of kindness. And just this, okay, that's the way it is. It's not because it's our enemy, it's just what the body does. But the mind and the attitude and the body is two different things. Nothing is of any importance right now. Nothing to figure out. Don't have to control anything. The body's gonna breathe. And the awareness can go wherever it wants to, behind the eyes, to the sounds, into a part of the body, back to the breath. We don't hold it anywhere in particular. We just have that little bit of interest, that little bit of kindness, and that little bit of appreciation. Not having to do. Not having to manipulate, to control. Just as if a big burden is removed, something that is always demanding something. We can be, for the time of our meditation, completely free of that. Nobody in the background demanding anything. Whatever happens, happens. And I hope your thoughts are slowing down a little bit and you can see the beauty and the weight that these thoughts have on our minds the whole time. But also they don't have to be there, or they don't have to be that important the whole time. They're thoughts, nothing more. Coming and going, same as feelings. Same as our other perceptions, smell and hearing, taste and touches, coming and going. Thoughts is just one little aspect of it. We make it very, very important. It can be very beautiful without the importance to the thoughts. Nothing to achieve, nothing to control. Only a kind observer, interested in what's happening when we don't have to do anything at all. times. And after this third ring, please open your eyes and we end the meditation for tonight. Excuse me, I just grab a tissue. Alright, welcome back.
Thank you, Ashan. That was beautiful. Can we take questions, or do you want to go straight to the talk?
I would love to answer questions, because it's always important for me to know what are the problems for people actually in their practice. Otherwise, I'm going to talk about stuff that you might not be that interested in.
Never happened before.
Well, thank you. Probably not everybody agrees with you, but
I would like to ask a question then, if that's okay.
sure.
And you started off by saying that you said be an island.
Mm.
That we said?
That's what the Buddha said actually, yes, that's what I said as well. Be an island for yourself, yes.
Can you tell us more about in what way and how to do that? In a modern society where we're all very interdependent?
Mm. You remember I mentioned that last time, for example, the Metta Sutta. Huh? When we read the Metta Sutta, it can seem very lofty, huh? The ideas sometimes when we see our mind in our day-to-day struggles and how we treat each other and the nasty thoughts that come up in the mind and whatnot, it sometimes seems to be eons away from that metta, loving all living beings. Huh? And sometimes it's hard not to like your husband or your wife or your children or whatever. And so in the meditation, obviously we always go that step beyond. Huh? We go to that place that we cannot live in our day-to-day life all the time. Huh? It's like we look a little bit beyond the limitations that we have in our day-to-day life, where we lose our mindfulness and we have to interact with people and be spontaneous and with all the difficulties. You know what I'm talking about. So the same is the idea with the island for me. At first, it's just this. What does it even mean? Huh? If it's just that vague concept in our mind, is, oh yeah, the Buddha said that I should do that. So some people, they think they have to push other people away. Huh? I shouldn't be. That's the first thing that usually comes to Westerners. I shouldn't be attached. I shouldn't love him or her so much. Shouldn't love my children so much. That's all attachment, and that's all going to make me and other people suffer. And so we bring another concept into it and haven't understood what the Buddha means, and then it can become very unwholesome in itself again. So the island, I hope that you, the way we started the meditation today, and the meditation progress, and I try to progress the meditation with you, was this becoming aware of the burden that thoughts can have on the mind, and feeling that sense of relief coming up in the mind when the thought process slows down. Huh? And that is that gets hopefully stronger and stronger in your meditation if you put your awareness there. If you see your mind beforehand, and when you were struggling with maybe thoughts about something that is going to happen in the future, or you think is going to happen in the future, or thoughts about yourself being inadequate, or I don't know what people think. Actually, all the craziness that goes on in the world, in people's minds, sometimes it's baffling. My own mind is crazy enough, but some people, they can be so brutal in their own minds with themselves and others. I don't do that for a long time anymore. So sometimes I just don't get it. Huh? This having at first this island should be something that is attractive. This is incredibly attractive to you. Huh? There is a taste of freedom there. There is a taste of not having to do things. There's a sense of belonging, of kindness there. There's something that attracts you. Huh? To build that island in your mind. I mean, I told you, the tendency of the mind is that we can't escape that. It's gonna look for pleasant things, and it's gonna try to avoid unpleasant things. That's its very, very nature. That's the core of our beings. Huh? Whatever we do in every moment is basically to gain happiness and to avoid suffering. In every millisecond. Something completely baffling in the speed and in the habits that it's actually done in the mind. Huh? And often the mind thinks, we know, I'm over 50 now, and my mind thinks I have all the little things figured out already. There's happiness and there's suffering, and that can constrict us in that, and make us very rigid in our views and in our ways again. But having that island, that means having that place where it doesn't matter what that guy says, and what the Buddha said, and what Muhammad said, and what Jesus said, and if this guy was wrong or that guy was wrong or right. You have found that place in your mind where it's just beautiful. And that beauty is always very closely connected with that guilelessness, with that harmlessness, with this complete trust that at your best, you don't want to harm yourself, you don't want to harm other beings. And there's for me, it's like a golden string, a golden light, whatever you want to call it. This is the place where your whole meditation goes in a direction where you can let go, because there is this trust there. It's almost like you're in the Metta Sutta, like you're in your mother's arm or whatnot, somewhere where you feel so safe, because it's felt. It's not a concept anymore. Huh? It's in the present moment. It's a state of mind. Huh? It's not just an idea. And if you can build that island in your mind, where it's just like there is this beauty there, and you see these thoughts coming in and doubting, and you just see, oh, they are just thoughts doubting. Huh? That island has nothing to do with it. Or there comes an unpleasant feeling comes up. But it's just an unpleasant feeling, and it comes and goes. Or an unpleasant perception, a sound, or something else. But that feeling of guilelessness, that feeling of being open to whatever happens. It has this tremendous power because it doesn't have to defend anything anymore. And that is an island where it's basically whatever, all the waves outside, they're just brushing over it, and the island just stands there. But it doesn't stand there and struggling against the waves. It just stands there, and the waves are just washing over it. Sometimes they're washing over the top, maybe it's submerging the island a bit. The island doesn't care. So that is for me what the direction the Buddha is pointing to. This is sort of a safe harbor, where it's you're not shaken by these things that can happen on the outside. There's just this beauty that is there in the inside, and that is it doesn't have to be defended because it doesn't struggle against anything anymore. And that is a completely different sort of bliss, because it doesn't have this impermanence to it. It's still impermanent because it's fading away and we go back to a normal mind state. But we know the direction that thing takes. There is where impermanent lies, because that's where the struggle ends, where anybody trying to defend or manipulate anything ends in that direction. So that island is something that we build over time through good morality, through kindness, through our meditations, through finding the beauty in the meditation, in the mind slowing down. Instead of watching everything that is not perfect yet, we watch the beauty of the heavy thoughts dropping and other thoughts that are just interfering dropping. And then it's basically the awareness goes into the body and it becomes a little bit weird and sort of where to now. And for me usually it's going to the breath. The breath is just going in and going out. The body is just doing its business. And I don't have to manipulate that. So is another thing I can let go of. Just I let the body do its work. And the process, the watcher, that attitude is the only importance. The guy who's still aware of what is going on, or the girl or whatever in the background, the one that knows what's going on. This thing has an attitude to it. And if that attitude is refined enough, and as in that moment of your meditation, it's just kind enough, it's just open enough, interested enough, then that attitude creates the beauty that pulls the mind in. Because the mind recognizes kindness, the mind recognizes something that is interesting, fascinating. And it's because it becomes so unexpected and so weird, it draws the mind in, and the kindness just holds it there because the mind trusts itself. We trust ourselves that we want to go into a good direction. We want the best for ourselves and other people. And that just becomes very strong, and that is for me maybe the lighthouse on the island actually. That is blinking there for us, even if we can't stay on that island the whole time. But it's that thing that we can sometimes achieve or not achieve. I don't want to use achieve. It sometimes just happens in our meditation. Same as these metta states can, if we go in that direction, that can happen in the meditation. Even if in our day-to-day life we're so far away from it. In the meditation, when we put the effort in, and if we guide the mind in a kind way towards something that makes us feel that, because we have all this wish of being loved and to love, and to have that spread out over the entire world. If you manage that, that is one of these Brahma Viharas. That stuff is so powerful. It just blows you away, and then you don't have to worry about the 5 hindrances, anything. It just takes you with itself. The beauty of it just sweeps you away, because it's just is nothing what somebody else told you anymore. It's an experience, and it's so bloody real, more real than anything else that we have experienced in our life so far. Yeah. So I hope that helps a little bit with the idea of the island.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? I'm having problems with moving my mouse, so I can't see if anybody's put anything in. Anybody got any other questions? Otherwise, Sharon, we might be lucky to have a talk from you, although that was a talk in itself.
Come on, guys, what are you struggling with?
I think we can still hear from you, because you always come up with something novel.
Not really. I only have a limited amount of material. Ajahn Brahm is not afraid to repeat himself all the time because he can't avoid it with so many talks. I still try to stay in the background enough that I don't bore myself to death yet. Oh, Chitta, I've heard that one before. Okay.
Maybe we could have the questions at the end, or
Okay, well, if there are no questions, I don't want to push you.
just even more about the loving kindness is always welcome.
Well, I listened to one of my talks in Nolamara recently, a few months ago, and there was actually a question, and I didn't answer so well because I have to admit I was a little bit disappointed. I mean, the whole talk was about fear and terror and how to deal with your mind, and then the question was something like, what if I'm going to be put in a situation where I just can't cope? And I thought, well, I think what I said was basically, what is going to happen if you can't cope? You're going to explode. So that wasn't particularly sensitive, actually, because I thought, man, I just talked the whole time about the thought process in the mind, how we take thoughts so important and for granted that they cloud our reality. I try to distinguish between thoughts that are maybe good to pack your lunch and take some water when you go into a desert hike or whatnot, things that make sense to prepare and use thoughts skillfully, and I try to distinguish between thoughts. How far do we let that go with the thoughts? How much stuff do we put in our backpack because there might be something on that trip that is going to happen to us? So having the clarity in our own minds to see this thought is sort of helpful. I have to set my alarm clock maybe or I have to be aware at 6:45 I'm supposed to be here, otherwise I'm going to miss out on you guys giving the talk. So I had to give that a few thoughts to make that happen, that I don't forget. And that makes sense, otherwise we would be so lucky if I wasn't here. But what am I going to talk about? Are people going to like what I talk about? Is it even important talking to people? Who do you think you are actually sitting there and trying to teach other people? This sort of thoughts would have been less helpful, in my opinion. What is that good for? I didn't ask to sit here. Ajahn Brahm asked me this morning if I can do the Amalel group, so that was it for me actually. He asked me, and then I usually do it because Ajahn Brahm doesn't ask for much, and it's my turn, so fair enough. And then that makes a lot of sense to me. Basically, with some things we have to think about, and some things we have to control. Other things come into our mind just to torture us. They're just not. They're not helpful. Yeah, I mean, with that lady in India now, with their what is the actual suffering? So when you really sit with your relative when they're dying, you even then you just usually imagine what they're going through. Are you really that connected to hold their hand and feel what they're going through? Or are you just living another fantasy? Yeah? What is happening to them? What if they die? What if I can't cope when they die? What happens to this and this person when they die? And it's all speculation, speculation, speculation. And some of that stuff might be helpful because you need to organize some things when a person dies. But a lot of stuff is just torture. Torture, and it's good for nothing. So if we have found the place where the mind sees more clearly, this is helpful, thank you mind, this is unhelpful, mind, don't bother. this is just it's just gonna drive us nuts. Yeah? It's just we're gonna go crazy with that. Yeah? And in that moment when the question came up, what's gonna happen when I have to perform or whatnot and I can't cope? Why have you not listened to me? And because I try to explain exactly that thought is gonna be the problem. In that moment, when you stand in front of 10,000 people who listen to you giving a talk or whatnot, only that thought, oh, I might, people might not like me, oh, I might say something stupid, this might happen, that might happen, then I have a problem if I believe those thoughts. I can't cope. That is a thought. And then you have the problem. The feeling, I try to explain the feeling of fear. There's nothing wrong with that. I told the story about the spots on my lungs and that feeling of fear because of the thought, or maybe lung cancer. And I remember that so well that I know fear. I know the feeling of fear. And it starts in the lower region of your abdomen. And it pushes up and it's sort of, whew. But in that moment was just, oh, fear. And I gave it some interest actually, because I had experienced it before. And instead of, oh, fear and what is going to happen and whatnot, just this, pay attention to the feeling of fear, and it became something incredibly warm and beautiful. And that is such surprising stuff. When we deal with our emotions in a different way and not in the usual way. Or with thoughts, people think, I can't meditate, just think too much and it's never going to stop. Give yourself a good hug and say, mind, whatever you want to think now. Now is your time. Now we have half an hour and you can think of anything you want. And just that kindness towards it is going to change the direction your thoughts are going to take. So the kindness towards a thought, what if I can't cope? That's completely alright. If you can't cope, you can't cope. And then you can cope, because you have that kindness inside of yourself actually that deals with that stuff. It's never anything from the outside, or never any feeling that is going to destroy you. There's just this stupid thought sometimes that push our feelings into a certain direction where it becomes very uncomfortable, and then we struggle even more because we want to get out of it. We're looking for happiness, trying to avoid suffering. But then that struggle can become something in itself, and then people have a panic attack or whatnot. But that's then the mechanism of the mind to shut you up. And you have a beautiful panic attack, actually, and you're just going to be there. And you're going to be with your breath, I guarantee you. And nothing is going to happen, actually. You had a panic attack. And then you don't want to have that. That was so unpleasant. Don't want to have a panic attack. And then people have a panic attack about not having a panic attack. So we get into this little prisons inside of our own mind, and I hope the meditation can help you to distinguish. This is your little island you built, where your kindness is, and where there's safety, because swords are just swords. They're gonna wash on the shore, but they just don't have the power. Because the island stands there. There's still swords washing over. And maybe some swords are even nasty or frightening or whatnot, but it's just because there's a distance towards them. There's a kind distance, there's this kind watcher there. Actually, you see swords as swords. It's not your swords, it's just swords. And only when they gain this importance, I mean, they become this, this is something that I have to control now. Then that becomes very real, and then we call that reality. And it might be just complete craziness. What is completely real to one is completely crazy to another. And we very rarely share moments of reality with each other. Really share. I think that's a very rare occasion. You might have that sometimes with your lover or a good friend, then you're very, very lucky actually. Usually we live in our own little realities the whole time actually, and just sort of bounce a little bit off each other. Sort of, there's a little bit of agreement on some stuff, but I don't know what you're up to. That's why I asked, what are your problems? What is going on in your heads? What are you struggling with? So I have still no clue. I just can tell you that if you manage to find some beauty in that coming towards a stiller place, coming towards if you feel swords as something heavy in that moment, where it's just heavy and the release of heaviness, where you just see, oh, I don't have to carry that around with me the whole time. It's just now for that time, and if you are happy with half an hour meditation, fair enough. For some of you might struggle with the time. I remember in the monastery in the beginning, especially in Thailand, these incredible long meditation sessions, 2 hours and 3 hours and whatnot, and it's just the mind goes on the defensive, or at least my mind went on the defensive already. 3 hours sitting, and so the whole meditation was tainted through that. One of the hindrances already, the not wanting. And half an hour in a busy mind can easily create this sort of, I don't have time for that, and it's going to be boring, and I don't know what. So I try to tell people, give yourself 5 minutes. See what the mind says to 5 minutes. If you can. And you have to be very honest with yourself, obviously. It's basically mind, what do you think about 5 minutes where we don't have to do anything? If the mind sees any beauty there, go for it. If that still seems too long, go for 1 minute. Mind, what do you think about 1 minute where we don't have to worry about anything? Where we can just sit, breathe, and don't have to think about what's going to happen in the future and what's happened in the past. 1 minute, how does it feel, mind? What do you say to that? 1 minute of no responsibility, of nothing to achieve, nothing to gain, nobody to judge. Just watching for 1 minute what is going on. And then usually people say, actually, 1 minute, they can go for it. And I sometimes did that myself. And the interesting thing is then 1 minute becomes 2 minutes and 45 minutes and half an hour and an hour and whatnot, because the mind was, from the very beginning, it was treated nicely. It was interested in what was going on. So it was never boring, and it was never in that defensive position of, oh, I should meditate, no, I shouldn't think, no, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. It was from the very beginning, it was sort of like a friend or your lover in your arm and watching the sunset or whatnot. You didn't want to go anywhere. It was just exactly where you wanted to be from the very beginning. And so if half an hour feels uncomfortable, go for shorter time periods. Just be your friend in your meditation. It has to be something that is experienced. If it's just a concept, it's just going to be just another religion, just another belief burdening you down. If it doesn't feel like something is dropping off, it's going to be worthless. If it doesn't feel lighter, if it doesn't feel safe, it's just another concept, and then you call that Buddhism, and you take the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts, and you're still as miserable as ever before. It's just something else you have to do again. It's just, oh, and I stepped on an ant, and I shouldn't kill animals anymore. I was just an insect. I can't go fishing anymore. But I went fishing for so long, I killed so many fishies. How much bad karma did I create? and people worry about that for a few years, actually. And it's all not going to help very much. Seeing the beauty in harmlessness, that is something that helps immediately. Seeing that nobody likes to be harmed, and the mind remembers this and has a feeling to that. And that is very powerful, not to harm people. Even that sometimes is then overshadowed by our own desire and our own stupidity and lack of mindfulness. But that's something to go back to. Every strong feeling inside that we had is something that pulls us back. Why do we remember our loving moments with somebody? Why is that so powerful? Why people always want that back? Or the mother-child thing or whatnot, that protected, feeling protected by somebody. Want to go back to that. And just very powerful emotions, very strong, but also there's wholesomeness behind that. There's a giving aspect to it, and there's a kindness aspect to it. So that's where in the realm where we feel safe as beings, as sentient beings. And we don't have to ask anybody about that. It's just we feel our way into the thing. Instead of just having new concepts in our heads, how we should be and what we should do and what the Buddha said, and what the monks said, what Ajahn Brahm said, what Chittapalo said, is completely unimportant. You feel your own way into this mind where you just feel welcome, where just burdens just dropping off. And that happens in your mind as a human being if you treat yourself kindly. It's just happening. It's unavoidable. And maybe you created so much shitty karma in your own mind, and you have such a low opinion of yourself that it might take you a while. There's no quick fix. But you can start every second again, every millisecond. You see you're treating yourself bad in your mind. I just don't need to do that. I'm not helping myself, I'm not helping other people. If I treat myself kindly, I'm creating a space where I can breathe, where I can let other people breathe, where I become less needy. The more happiness in your own mind, the less we're going to be a burden on other people. Beautiful thing. If we still need to be a burden to other people, that's the way it is. But we can work with that. We just work on making our own minds better little by little. Okay.
Asha, there's a question in the chat box. Can you see that, or would you like me to read that out for you?
Chat box.
When we have physical pain, how do we
Chat. I have to click chat, I guess.
click chat? And then at the bottom of the chat is a message from Akasha.
Bottom, okay. I have, the last one is Masa, what? No, Masa, no. Achan. When we have physical pain, how do we make that a meditation object with metta? With metta, is that a greeting for me or is that a question if you do it with metta? I don't know. Okay. Physical pain, I always say that is a very difficult thing. So I always advise you to first do physically everything that you can, and from painkillers to acupuncture, whatever helps you on a physician's level with the pain, and also making your body as comfortable as you can in the meditation, you go for that. So that's part of your kindness, actually, that we're so lucky to live in the country here where we get good medical support, so we have painkillers and all that stuff. Don't be afraid of going a little bit drowsy. I would not. A little bit of kindness and drowsiness is preferable to misery and aggression. So go for the if you need them, go for the painkillers. Go for the positions that are most comfortable, and then because we get more in contact with the body when we slow the mind down. That is unavoidable. If we want to let go, we let go through the body. So the body becomes always more prominent in the beginning, and then if we manage to let go, actually the body can. The sensations of the body can also fade away again. But I don't know a path that goes not through the body first, where you can just basically click and let go. I haven't seen that one yet. So if the pain is not too intense, you can try to go in that direction with a bit of metta. But you have to be very honest to yourself. Just how much metta do you really have in that moment? How much metta can you give? And if that gets too intense, and if you can't do it, have the metta to say, no, that is not working for me. That is just too painful. And then you can try to stay maybe with a different object. You immediately try to focus strongly on your breath. Try to stay with your breath as good as you can, in, out. Usually the way our brain and mind works is we stay with one object. Well, we can only perceive one object at a time. Even if we're multifunctional, as usually one thing comes, one thing goes, another thing comes, another thing. It's just so fast that we perceive it as one sensation. But it's actually always one thing clicking into awareness, clicking out, and next thing coming in, clicking out. So if you manage to stay very focused and kind on your breath from the very beginning, that can push that sensation of pain very much into the background. If you don't manage that, you can use something visual. Focus you leave your eyes open and you focus on something. Maybe you put something in front of you, something beautiful that can hold your attention. Or try it with even music or whatnot. If you can focus on some calming music, if that helps you keep your mind. And obviously the music shouldn't be too disturbing. Something which is interesting enough, but also doesn't pull the mind constantly left to right, actually into different emotions. So just if your pain is strong, find the kindest way for yourself to get in contact with that realm where it's not, where the thoughts slow down, where you still can perceive that blissful feeling of thoughts slowing down, thoughts dropping away, worries dropping away. And if that doesn't help, then sorry, pain is a tricky thing, and sometimes we just wanna run away. So whatever fixes your attention, and maybe if that meditation doesn't work good enough for you, then maybe you find a wholesome activity that can divert you enough from the pain. Something you like to do, but is still a little bit calming and joyful for you. So please try out different things that work for you. I don't know how strong your pain is, and I'm lucky enough not to be in big pain myself. And I know in my meditation, when I sit too long, there comes that point where I identify with my body, where knee pain is not just a knee pain, where a knee pain becomes my knee pain, and then I've got to move. Actually, it's just that it's becoming all very, very real again. That thing can be very frustrating, these moments. But it's just where we have to leave the island, or we have to leave the metta sutta and basically come back to that reality where we just confronted with things where we're not going to be at our best, but we still try not to blame too much. Please don't blame your body or anybody else. It just adds to the suffering. But whatever you can muster with acceptance and just this, is the bad karma we have already being born as a human being in a body. It's such a painful experience. So hopefully we improve our minds a bit, and then we don't have to go through that for